Ajay, it's been a very busy few years for you. There's been a lot of downs, naturally, but there now seems to be a turning point, either stabilization or an up. And things are looking a lot better now for you, and it can be seen as an on the horizon exciting time. Just set the scene for the audience in terms of, obviously from where you were, you could have been basically out of business, but you're not. You're still a fighter and you're still surviving. Set the scene for where the airline is today.
What happened with the SpiceJet was that I took over this airline in 2015, and at that point it was nearly bankrupt. We tried to, we started turning around the airline, and over the next 2 or 3 years, we had like 17 or 18 quarters of profit. Things turned around nicely. We placed a large order with Boeing, about 200 MAX aircraft. And those aircraft started to be delivered to us in 2018. Unfortunately, what really set us back then was the fact that the Boeing MAX aircraft crashed. And that crash led to a grounding of the aircraft that we had, but also led to the fact that there were no more deliveries coming in. So everything came to a standstill. We tried to recover by acquiring aircraft from Jet Airways, another Indian carrier that went down in 2019. We took over 32 aircraft from them, got back our market share to 20%. But within a few months of that, COVID happened and grounded our entire fleet. So the liabilities that we built because of the MAX grounding and COVID was really what was taking SpiceJet down. In 2024, we decided that we were fortunate enough to operate in a terrifically vibrant, dynamic, growing market. So we should refinance ourselves, clean up the liabilities, and start to grow again. So we raised about $400 million in 2024. We've cleaned up the liabilities, and we've started to grow again. It's terrifically exciting. I think the Indian market is doing really, really well. We've never seen demand of the sort that we are seeing now. We've never seen the kind of yields that we are seeing now. And despite the fact that yields have nearly doubled over the last 2 years, there seems to be no let-up in the demand, which shows that there is just enough of a pent-up market there. Remember that India is a country with 1.4 billion people, and only 5% of them fly today. So as the Indian economy grows, and we expect to grow at 7 or 8% a year for the next 15 or 20 years.
Is that at an airline level, or is that just when you talk about country level?
That's the country level.
Yeah.
And typically, aviation and tourism grow at about twice the GDP. So can you imagine a market that will continue to grow 15% a year for the next 15, 20 years? It's a terrific market.
Basically, you've got your hands full.
Hands full. And also, let me give you just some statistics. Today, India, for 1.4 billion people, has just 800 aircraft. Over the next 10 years, India will get another 1,800 aircraft from all the orders that have been placed by Indigo, Air India, SpiceJet, and others. There will be 1,000 aircraft that actually go back for lease returns. So after 10 years, given current projections, India will have only 1,600 aircraft, which is about 1/5 the aircraft that China has today. Yeah. So, and remember, India is the most populous country in the world. So there's going to be terrific shortage. There's going to be terrific demand. What's happening is that after COVID, I think people don't want to go by roads anymore, by rail anymore. India is a large country. People would rather go by air. And it cuts across all strata of society. So exciting space to be.
When you first got involved with SpiceJet in the previous decade, obviously you had huge ambitions and visions. And given what you have gone through over the last few years, and given the marketplace has fundamentally changed, since we now have a very large Air India group, we have a very large Indigo, how do you shape your vision and mission for the future, given the competitive landscape is a little bit different there?
Well, India is aviation duopoly at this time. Like you said, there is the Air India group and there is Indigo. But we feel there's enough and more space for more operators. Firstly, a country the size of India should not have a duopoly. It should have multiple players. We've operated in a competitive environment pretty much all our lives. We know how to create our own niche. Today we are flying at about 92-93% occupancy. As I said, yields higher than we've ever experienced in our lives, despite that duopoly that exists and despite the competition that exists. There are just so many new cities and towns and tourist destinations to fly to within India and across the world. India has traditionally only flown to major destinations like London and New York and Dubai, but there are any number of destinations and Indians want to explore new destinations. So there's lots of work for everyone, and we think that there's enough space for more airlines in the country.
Enough space for more airlines, though in the recent past we've had multiple failures as such, and it is a difficult environment. I think for those who don't necessarily know as much, there is a challenge, particularly in the domestic market, where jet fuel ticket prices are capped, jet fuel prices are very high, and there are conditions which don't necessarily make it easy for any airline operator.
Well, ticket prices are not capped. Ticket prices are completely up to the airlines, and airlines have used that flexibility, of course, to raise fares recently. Jet fuel, of course, remains an issue, like you said. The tax on jet fuel, at least at the major centers, is significantly high. The failures largely in the past, I think, have been because Air India, which was one of our large airlines, was actually owned by the government of India, and therefore kept prices artificially low, and everybody followed them, and therefore there was a pressure on yields. Failures of the sort of Go Air, for example, really were a consequence of what happened with Pratt & Whitney. They had a great fleet. They were flying the Pratt & Whitney engine. That engine just continued to fail. And so I think we are looking at a different paradigm today. There is space. An airline like SpiceJet today is a profitable airline. Even at the small scale at which we are operating, of course, we intend to grow back to the size we were pre-COVID. But even at our scale, this is a profitable airline. And I think there's a long way to go.
And given the resilience you have built up by being able to defy the odds, I'm sure there'll be many people out there thinking, SpiceJet's not going to be around for much longer. You've got that. It feels like you've got that street fighter approach, and I guess does that help when you've got these big boy competitions?
I think for sure. We've been told that we are going to die so many times that we've stopped to believe it, and it's we always say that SpiceJet is the airline that just absolutely refuses to die. We keep fighting, and we are also fortunate that we are in a really exciting market, in a very exciting part of the world where people are actually becoming richer, the economy is growing, people are becoming richer, more and more people want to fly. It's an aspirational thing. It's people who start to fly, then no longer want to go by trains anymore. So it's an exciting place, new tourist destinations coming up all the time. New modes of air travel as well, helicopters, seaplanes, small planes, small jets, private jets. There's lots of spaces for people who are attending this conference to explore in India.
Yeah, and also the challenge, the appetite when you travel so frequently is then, you want business class or you want first class, and so the demands of everyone gets ever higher.
Absolutely. So in our case, that demand getting ever higher is actually the transition that we are making from trains to planes. In 2015, when we started, we said, look, how can it be that the number of people who travel by air in a whole year is the same as the number of people who travel by trains on one single day? That just doesn't make sense. Yeah. There has to be that shift which will happen. And it's happening at a very rapid pace at this time.
So how are you positioned then for 2025 and beyond? Obviously, you've got out of largely the difficult times where is the fleet size now? Where do you want to get to? And given you have you referenced the Boeing order you made for the MAX jets, 155, a while ago now. When does that start to feed into really growing the airline, building it back up again?
Well, we hope soon, but given Boeing's difficulties, one can never be entirely certain of when those aircraft will start to arrive. We received 13 aircraft from the 155 order that you referenced, and of course, we are pushing them, and they're giving us some dates, but let's see when the deliveries actually start. In the meanwhile, we have, now in retrospect, we are fortunate enough to have aircraft that are sitting on the ground that need repair. And if we can repair those planes, at least, we can pretty much double our fleet just by repairing the aircraft that we have on the ground. And that's the target, that over the next 12 months or so, we have we are flying 30 aircraft. We have another 30 aircraft on the ground. At least we repair those and get them back in the air and double the current size of our fleet. We continue to look for capacity, wet lease capacity, dry lease capacity, whatever it is that we can get, we can fill. We were a 100 aircraft airline, and we intend to get back there over the next 2 to 3 years.
How about wide bodies? Do you have that longer term ambition for longer haul?
Look, I think every airline in India will need eventually to acquire wide bodies and eventually to do longer haul international travel. Today, we fly to Dubai 12 times in a day. We fly to Bangkok 5 times in a day. We fly to Saudi Arabia multiple times in a day. But clearly, there's space to fly longer haul. During COVID, we actually used to fly to Italy and to Canada on a regular basis. So we have some experience of that. And once we stabilize our operations, certainly that's a space that we will explore.
Are you having any discussions with the OEMs right now about what potential, the what ifs or why for wide bodies?
Yes, absolutely.
The orders that people are making, they're not going to be coming until the end of the decade at this rate.
Absolutely, and so we are discussing with both the major manufacturers, and we are discussing wide body orders with them as well. Like you correctly said, this is still, an order made today is probably going to be delivering in 29 or 2030, and so we need to be prepared for that. We have some experience flying wide bodies. We are certainly looking at that, and I think India has this ambition of ensuring that its hubs for its own passengers remain within the country. So we fly directly from a Delhi and a Mumbai and a Bangalore and a Hyderabad into Europe and into the US and into Southeast Asia and Japan and Australia. We don't want to use, on a longer term basis, the hubs of Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Doha and Singapore. Those have become de facto Indian hubs. And a place like Dubai, 50% of the traffic transiting from there is Indian. So I think there is an opportunity for Indian carriers. Used to be that Air India was not so strong and they were the only wide-body long-haul carrier, and therefore we couldn't really build our own hubs in India. But now there's a concerted effort doing that. Air India is now private. They've placed a significant number of wide-body orders, as has Indigo, and as will SpiceJet and Akasa.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have your hands full over the next few years. But it's an exciting time given the population growth, the economic growth, being the largest in the G20. So there's a lot of good fundamentals out there. But as you try to benefit from the fundamentals, is there anything that you kind of reflect on the previous history, the previous past, as you guide the airline? Anything you would do differently that you won't do again in order to ensure that you can keep that airline's momentum going forward?
Yes, I think we needed to have placed orders much more in advance and orders for larger planes, I think. Putting all our eggs in the Boeing basket was, in retrospect, a mistake. We were not to know, I think, at that time that there would be a problem with the MAX aircraft. Perhaps we should have anticipated a potential problem. But we will continue to look at opportunity from here.
I'm probably getting a text from Airbus right now who's probably going to try and knock on your door. Be an exciting opportunity for anyone in any market. With that, Ajay Singh, thank you so much indeed for joining me on stage. Thank you so much. We'll see you for the group panel in a little while. Thank you.
Thank you.